Today's reading is from John 15, 1 through 17.
I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch in me that bears no fruit, while every branch that does bear fruit, he prunes, so that it will be even more fruitful. You are already clean because of the word I have spoken to you. Remain in me, as I also remain in you. No branch can bear fruit by itself. It must remain in the vine. Neither can you bear fruit unless you remain in me.
I am the vine, you are the branches. If you remain in me and I in you, you will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. If you do not remain in me, you are like a branch that is thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up and thrown into the fire and burned.
If you remain in me and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be done for you. This is to my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples.
As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Now remain in my love. If you keep my commands, you will remain in my love, just as I have kept my Father's commands and remain in his love. I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete.
My command is this: love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you servants, because a servant does not know his master's business. Instead, I have called you friends. For everything I learned from my Father, I have made known to you. You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit that will last, and so that whatever you ask in my name, the Father will give you.
This is my command: love each other.
You know, I love watching the news, but there's just some crazy things that happen. You know, they say life is stranger than fiction, right? And this week in the news, there was a story of a 40-year-old doctor who went on vacation in Australia and fell into a river and was killed by a 16-foot crocodile. I mean, how random is that, right? I mean, you just are all excited about vacation, you're looking forward to it, and then you are eaten by a 16-foot crocodile. Well, that's not cool. I mean, his wife heard the splash when he fell in, and she went to give him aid, but due to the steepness and the slipperiness of this bank that he had fallen down, she wasn't able to grab his arm. She only was able to grab his arm, but she also soon began to slip into the river. And this is what she said. Dave's final decision, his final decisive act, was to let go of Jane's arm when he realized that she was also falling in, despite knowing that she was his only lifeline. Within moments, he was taken. Jane said her husband's decision to release her saved his life. That's true love, right? Jimmy Ruffin saying, hold on to my love, but sometimes love is letting go. Sometimes love means letting go, right? Look at the words of Jesus that were just read for us this morning in John 15, verse 13. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. You know, this comes at the end of Jesus' life when he said this, as his execution is drawing near, he's staring his death in the face. That's when he said this. That's what the context of this is, speaking to his disciples. And Jesus says, this is love. As he refused to take up violence to protect himself, right? And to do battle against those who are coming against him, but instead he willingly laid down his life so that each of us could be restored into a relationship with God. As Jesus is staring this down, this is what he says, "Watch me, watch what I do." Because this is what love looks like. This is how true love is defined. Watch me so that you can know what it is and so you can know what it looks like. And then the implication is go and do it. You also go and do this. It wasn't just something that Jesus was doing as God, certainly he was doing it to save the world. The implication for the disciples was you go now and do this also. Love in this way. So this morning we're starting a new series looking at our vision here at Hope. Love big, grow deep, and live sent, right? And we've had that there for a couple of years. But we're going to take another look at it. And like many things, these words can just sort of become trite and meaningless if we don't understand that they are simply signs that are pointing to something much deeper, much more significant that God is calling us to. So we want to look at what are those deeper truths that God are calling us to through this vision. The motivational speaker Zig Ziglar once said, "If you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time." Isn't that true? Isn't that so true in our lives? If you aim at nothing, you'll hit it every time. You actually have to aim at something in your life, right? You have to actually have a goal. Now, every once in a while, maybe you get lucky. But in general, if you aim at nothing, if you have no vision, if you have no goals, you're going to hit it every single time. And so vision helps us understand what it is that we're aiming at as a church family here at Hope. What is God calling us to aim at? I don't know if you are fans of the Olympics, but the Summer Olympics are well underway, and they're filled with sports that involve aiming at things, right? Archery and shooting and all kinds of different sports that require you to aim at a target and to hit the target. One of the most important skills an Olympian can have is to learn to control their stress and anxiety and come to a place of peace. So if you watch the archery competition, you may have noticed that there's actually a heart rate monitor in the lower portion of the TV screen. You can see the actual heart rate of those archers as they're standing up there and they're aiming and they're shooting at the target. Why would they have the heartbeat, a heart rate? Why would they show that to you? Why is that important? Because for an Olympian to be able to hit the target, they have to bring their emotions, their physical body into a place of calm and rest. Right? It's critical to be able to hit the target that far away and to win the gold. And this is so true of our relationship with Jesus. When we look at the target, the vision that God has placed before us, the vision that God is giving to our whole lives, when we look at that target, one of the biggest keys for us to be able to hit that target is to live in a place of God's peace. To live at a place of God's peace. Right? Look at what Jesus said. Just the one chapter before the verses that we read today in chapter 14. This is what Jesus said to his disciples. "Peace I leave with you. My peace I give you. I don't give to you as the world gives." He makes this distinction. I'm not giving to you the way the world gives, but my peace I give to you. Do not let your hearts be troubled, and don't be afraid. So Jesus promises this to us. We are his disciples. He says, if you're going to hit the target, if you're going to understand the target that I'm giving you for your life, and if you're going to hit that target, you're going to have to find a way to live in my peace, because otherwise you're not going to hit the target. You're going to be a mile off. No matter how hard you try, you're not going to hit the mark. My peace I leave with you, my peace I give to you. Don't let your hearts be troubled, and don't be afraid. So why do we find it so hard to live this out? Let's be honest. How many of you are like, man, I'm nailing this right now. This peace thing, I'm crushing it. This past week, man, I was so peaceful. I don't know about you, but I'm not sure I could say that, right? Like if I had a monitor strapped to my arm that indicated the level of peace that I was living at, I'm not sure I would want 1 million people to see that. I don't want other people to see that. My family can see that well enough. All right, Dad, get some peace, all right, because you're driving us nuts. But isn't this true in our lives, is that we read these words, and yet we don't often experience the reality of this peace that Jesus said, I'm giving you my peace. I'm going to fill your life with my peace. Hello, Moto. I need some peace. I need some peace from my cell phone. I need some peace in my life. Why don't we live in God's peace? One of the reasons that we find it hard to live at peace is that we're swimming in the waters of a world around us that is trying to keep us from that peace for a variety of reasons, aren't we? One of the reasons that, is that companies are spending billions of dollars to promote fear and anxiety so that we give them money and power. I mean, that's true. I don't have to tell you that. But sometimes we forget that this is the world that we're living in. We forget that, there are people that are intentionally spending billions of dollars to keep us from living at peace. Because companies know that if you are anxious and stressed out, if you are not content with what you have, then you're going to spend money on all kinds of stuff. Right? And so companies know that they have to get you to not be content with what you have anymore if you're going to give them your money. Politicians know that one of the greatest motivators that people have is fear and anxiety. And so if you're going to get out and vote, then fear and anxiety is constantly being shoved at you. And we see that right now on all sides. That other candidate is a problem. They're going to blow up the world. Fear and anxiety. News companies know that if you're going to watch the news, you need to have some anxiety about what's going on. Good news doesn't sell. And so we live in a world, and we know that's true, but sometimes we forget it, and it's just in the background, but we continue day by day to be influenced by companies and by the news and by whatever it is that we're watching and listening to. We could even agree with those people. Like, we could agree with what they're saying, but we forget. We don't recognize the degree to which they are benefiting from our anxiety, right? And the world around us is spending billions of dollars to make sure that we are not at a place of peace and contentment. But another big reason that we fail to live at peace is we think that peace is situational and it's out of our control. Do you hear what I'm saying? We believe that peace in our life is something that merely wafts into our life uncontrolled by us. And sometimes then it just wafts back out and we can't control it at all. We believe that, oh man, we remember that time when we were at peace, but we did nothing to accomplish that peace for ourselves. It was something we had no control over at all, and we still believe that peace is not something that we work towards or that is intentional in our lives. It just simply comes and goes, and we don't know why. If my boss would give me a raise, I would have financial peace, but man, I can't control my boss, so I don't have financial peace. It's all related to somebody else, right? If my spouse would stop snoring, I could sleep peacefully. I can't control that, so it's somebody else that's in control of my peace, and so I just live out my life failing to have peace because it's always in someone else's hands. It's always just a matter of the situation that I'm in. And if I wasn't in this stressful, horrible situation caused by somebody else, I could actually have peace, right? Or else we believe that peace is situational. Once I can finally go on vacation. Vacation is the place where I can experience peace. That's what vacation's for. When the weekend finally comes and I can get off of work, out of this horrible job, on the weekend that I can finally have peace. Because peace is situational, right? And that's one of the big reasons, again, that we don't live every day in this peace that Jesus calls us to. And he says, I'm going to give you my peace, not situationally, not when you're on vacation, but at all times. Listen, Olympians don't wait for peace simply to fall in their lap. They don't wait till the situation is comfortable, do they? That didn't make any sense. The Olympics are the most stressful situations you can possibly be in when it's all on the line and you're trying to hit this tiny little target to win the gold. This is one of the most stressful situations possible. And yet it is in that very moment they understand that they have to practice peace very intentionally if they're going to hit the goal, if they're going to hit the target. They don't just wait for it to come wafting in. And this brings up another really big point. Olympians don't work on being calm and practicing peace because of peace itself, because it's nice, because it's comfortable, because they really enjoy it, right? And sometimes this is what we think. Peace is important because, well, peace is nice. Peace is good, because peace itself. Peace is not its own logic. That's not why we're being called to peace. The Olympians understand that peace is critical, calm is critical for achieving the goal. And that's why they're very intentional about it. Even in the most stressful situation, they work on it. They find strategies to bring themselves into a place of peace because I have to if I'm going to meet the goal. Not for the sake of being, because I just like being calm. No, it's for another reason that they are practicing peace, that they are bringing themselves into this place of calm. So I can hit the goal, so I can hit the target. So I can meet my goal in life. That's the way I get there. That's what they understand, right? And so Jesus doesn't call us to be at peace so that we can be comfortable. Oh, if Jesus would just bring me my peace. Why? Because, man, I'm so stressed out and I just need that right now, right? And that's a good thing, but that's not the reason why Jesus says, I'm going to bring you my peace. It's because there's a greater goal that he's pointing to. He says, I have a vision for your life. I have a purpose for your life. I want you to hit the target. But you can't hit the target if you are stressed out and you have anxiety, that you're filled with fear, right? You can't hit the target. You can't get there. And so, if you come to me, I'm going to show you the path of how to walk in peace, so you can hit the target that I'm putting before you. What is the target that we're aiming at? To love big, to grow deep, and to live sent. We're going to explore what those mean over the next coming weeks. This morning I want to look at what it means to love big. To love big. And this is the first target that God's put out before us here at Hope, to love big. Now, of course, if we're going to love big, the first thing that insinuates is that there is a way to love small, right? Have you ever thought about what it means to love small? And maybe we've experienced small love. Small love is when we love somebody when it's convenient. Small love is when we love somebody when they give us something back, right? We love the people who love us back. That's small love. And small love is good. It's not that that's bad, but that's not what we're being called to. We're calling to big love, so we got to look at what does it mean to love big? Because small love is easy. It's easy to love somebody that's loving us back, isn't it? That's easy. It's easy to love somebody when we want something from them. That's not hard to do. But then what does this mean for us to love big? It means something very different. So we have to look at what that is. Love is having a moment in our culture right now. At least the concept of the value of love. I don't think I've ever seen so many heart hands in my life, right? Oh, and you know you're a millennial if you use all your fingers to do the heart hand. You're not supposed to do it that way, right? Even the heart hand has a good and a bad way of doing it. But everyone from Olympians to TikTok influencers are flashing the heart hands. We love love, don't we? We love love, at least the concept of it. Someone would say that love is all we need. We don't even need anything else. That's all we need. How many songs, right? I was looking at the statistics of how many, the percentage of top 40 songs that involve love. It's a lot. We love love. But so what do we mean when we say that we value love, when we flash the heart hands, when we say this is something that's important to us or a priority in our lives or something that we advocate for? What are you even talking about? The truth is that oftentimes we just don't know what we mean when we say the word love, when we talk about love. We have no idea. We know what we mean, but we mean different things. And figuring out what we mean by this is so important because Jesus said that love is one of the biggest targets that we are to aim at. Listen to the words of Jesus as he's talking about how important love is. John chapter 13, he says this, "A new command I give to you." A new command, Jesus says, "I give to you. Love one another." Well, who wouldn't get behind that? Love one another. "As I have loved you," but then he says, "as I have loved you, in the way that I have loved you, so you must also love one another." Well, do we know how Jesus loved others? Do we know what that looks like? "By this," then Jesus said, "by this, everyone will know that you're my disciples if you love one another." Everybody will know that you're a Christian. How will they know that you're a Christian? Because you were so judgmental? Because you got so offended? Right? Because you were so stressed out? Because you were so rude? Because you told everybody how right you are? Because all the memes you put on Facebook? How will people know that you're a Christian? Jesus said, because your love is so great. And everybody around you, it doesn't matter who they are, they'll look at you and say, I know that that's a person who follows Jesus, who believes in Jesus' teachings, and who puts effort into walking every day by the teachings of Jesus. This is how I'm going to live. How? Because of your love. This is how important it is. It sits right at the very bedrock of our very identity. Somehow, perhaps, we have gotten off the mark as Christians. Perhaps we have gotten off the mark. We have put the arrow, right, in the bow, and we released it, and we've hit a different mark. And you see that every day. But I want you to be aware when you see it, even when you see other Christians, people who claim the name of Jesus Christ, and their identity is marked primarily in another way. I want you to think that's not the primary mark of what it looks like to be a follower of Jesus. Jesus is the one who told us what that looks like. It is love. And so we got to talk about what this love means. What do we mean by that? All right. Let me read you another one. That Matthew chapter 22, Jesus replied, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart," not just your heart, but with all your soul, not just your soul, but with all of your mind. Every part of your being, love God. This is the first and the greatest commandment, Jesus said. And the second one is like it, love your neighbor as yourself. And all the law and all the prophets hang on these two commands. They don't take the place of all the laws and commands. They don't replace them. But all of the other commands hang on this one command, to love God and to love each other. This is so critical. There's nothing more important than this. And so we got to think about what is it that God is actually calling us to here. Do we know what love means? One of the great challenges with love as our goal is that it sets up 4 or 5 different targets that all look the same, but we aren't told which one God wants us to shoot at. We're at the Olympics, right? And the archer gets up and there's 4 targets up there, and the judges won't tell the archer which one they have to hit. Can you imagine that? How frustrating would that be? And yet that's the exact situation that we find ourselves in when we're talking about love. Because what kind of love is it that we're actually talking about? In the Greek, listen, the New Testament of the Bible was written in Greek. It wasn't written in English. You understand that, right? It was written in Greek 2,000 years ago, in the Greek language. And here's the problem, is that in the Greek language, there's 4 different words, completely different words for the word love. 4. And in our English Bible, we just have the one word, love. We mash them all together. And so there are 4 targets out there, and we don't know which one we're aiming at. And so we got to figure this thing out. What kind of love is God saying sits at the very core of what it means to follow Jesus, to accomplish his goal in the world? Listen to this description of these 4 different targets that are set up by this one word, love. Let me read this for you. Unlike English, in which the word love means many different things, ancient Greek had 4 words to describe the range of meaning that our word love conveys. The first word in Greek is this, eros, from which we get the word erotic. Eros was the word often used to express sexual love or the feelings of arousal that are shared between 2 people who are physically attracted to one another. The word was also used as the name of the Greek god of love, Eros. And the Roman counterpart of that god of love, a name you may know, Cupid. Cupid, the Greek god of love. By the time the New Testament comes rolling around, the word eros had become so debased by the Greek culture that it's not even used one time in the entire New Testament. This type of love, this target that we label in English love, doesn't show up one time in all of the New Testament. The second Greek word for love is storge, which refers to the natural family love, the love that we have for our family. Storge, a word also not found in the Bible, refers to the type of love shown by a parent to a child. And the third target, the third Greek word for love is philia, right? Which forms a part of the word philosophy, right? Love of wisdom. Philanthropy, love of fellow man. Philadelphia, city of brotherly love, right? You get it. This word speaks of the warm affection shared between friends. Different from all of these is the 4th Greek word for love, agape, typically defined as self-sacrificing love. This is the love that moves people into action and looks out for the well-being of others, no matter the personal cost. Biblically speaking, agape is the love God showed his people in sending his son Jesus to die for their sins. Which of those 4 targets is God calling us to aim at with great intention and to make the highest priority in our lives to the point where it defines us, our identity as followers of Jesus? It's agape. The first 2 kinds of love, eros and storge, are not even mentioned in the New Testament. They're not even there. And this is so critical to understand because the vast majority of love that we find in movies and books that we care so deeply about in culture, in our lives, is eros. It's eros. So everything around you, when we use the English word love, 98% of the time we're talking about eros. A form of love that the Bible doesn't even talk about. And this is a kind of love, right, that is so different from agape, because agape love is all about giving self, not receiving what I need. When we talk about eros, what we're talking about is I have these feelings, I have particular needs, and I'm going to meet those needs. That's what it's about. And agape is the exact opposite. It says, regardless of my needs, in fact, I am going to suppress my own needs. I'm going to give up my own needs for the sake of meeting your needs, for taking care of you, for loving you. It is self-sacrificing love. Right? And this is what Jesus said. He said, when Jesus said, watch me, as I literally go to my death and I die for you. And what Jesus said is, this is agape. This is love. Now you go and agape one another. Give your life, give up your preferences, give up your money, give up your time, give up the things that you prefer for each other. And when you agape each other, the world will know that you are mine, because this is who I am. Another reason this is so important is that the target that we're being called to hit, the kind of love at the very center of who God is defined by this word agape. So when we say God is love, what we're saying is God is agape. Now listen, God created Eros, right? Because it sounds like I'm just beating up on Eros. Right? And yet it is God who gave us romantic love. It was God's idea. God gave us Eros to celebrate. And when we celebrate Eros in a healthy, God-honoring way, right, it builds up our relationships. It gives us joy in life, and that is what God wants for us. But here's the point. When it comes to agape, there are no limits. There are no boundaries. God says, I want in all forms, in all ways, at all times in your life, I want you to find ways to show agape to each other. And yet when it comes to Eros, it is just the opposite. There are all manner of many different ways that God has put boundaries and restrictions on Eros. Because when we live out Eros without God's boundaries and restrictions, we hurt ourselves and we hurt others, and we create all manner of damage, not only to ourselves, but to our society. And so we have these two targets, these two types of loves, and yet they're radically different. One is boundless. One has no restrictions at all. And the other, Eros, God has said, here are the boundaries within which this kind of love, perhaps the most powerful emotion as a human that you can feel, right? How you can experience that as something that's good and healthy for your life that brings honor to God. It is by understanding the boundaries that God placed on it. I love a good love story, right? And yet, we have all experienced the sting of Eros gone wrong. We all know what that feels like. To be dumped, to be used, right? To have our heart ripped out of our chest, it feels terrible. And yet for agape, there is no limit for what God calls us. The difference between Eros and agape is the difference between worshiping God and worshiping Cupid, right? Enjoy Eros in the limits that God gave us, but don't worship it. Don't worship it. Don't allow it to become your identity. Don't allow it to become the center of who you are and what you live for, because it will wreck you if you do. Let me go over that definition again of agape one more time. Different from all the other 4 Greek words for love, agape typically defined as self-sacrificing love, and this is a love that moves people into action to look out for the well-being of others, no matter the personal cost. Biblically speaking, agape is the love God showed his people in sending his son, Jesus, to die for their sins, no matter the personal cost. Listen, to hit the mark and love in this way requires the peace of Christ, the agape love of Christ to fill our lives. Unless we are being filled with this kind of love, we have nothing to give others, right? Because it is self-giving. It is self-emptying. And so if you've got nothing there to begin with, you've got nothing to give, right? Look at John 15. This is what Jesus said. As the Father has loved me, so I have loved you. Even for Jesus, he says, as the Father fills me up with agape, so I have passed that out and I've agape'd you. I've loved you. Now, he says, remain in my love, Jesus says. Remain in my love. Understand that I love you. It doesn't matter who you are, what you've done, where you've come from. There aren't limits on this, right? I haven't said, well, if you're good enough, then I really love you. If you look right, if you do the right things, then I really love you. He said, this is the starting point. That when you didn't deserve it, when there was nothing about you that was lovable, I loved you. Why? Because I created you. I am your creator. And your creation was an act of love to begin with. I love you, no matter who you are. And so out of that realization, understand who God is. Now, Jesus said, remain in my love. When you get up in the morning, start your day by reaffirming this truth. God loves me. I am a person who is I'm an object of God's love. I'm a creation of God's love. Remain in me. Listen to what Jesus said. If you keep my commands, you will remain in my love. This is one of the ways that you remain in my love. Do what I say. Just as I have kept my Father's commands and remain in his love. Verse 11, I have told you this so that my joy may be in you and that your joy may be complete. Not just when you're at church, not just when you're on vacation, at all times, in all circumstances, no matter how bad things get or stressed out things are or how difficult your times or your life is. If you remain in my love, your joy will be complete. Verse 12, my command is this, love each other as I have loved you. Greater love has no one than this to lay down one's life for one's friends. So this week, how has stress and anxiety kept you from loving others in agape love in self-sacrificial ways? Because we all experience this. I mean, we have these moments where we are all stressed out, and it's in that moment that we say things, we do things, we think things that we later regret, that lead us down a path that we didn't want to go down. It is moments when we are not at peace, when we are not calm, when we are not right. Those are not the moments when we make the big mistakes in life that wreck our relationships, that tear us apart, that cause us to do things that we regret. It's in moments of stress and anxiety and need and times of fear. But what does that look like in your life in this week? How have those things kept you from loving each other in this self-sacrificial kind of way? As I said, we can't give what we don't have. As we looked at last week, the reality is that we are leaky buckets, aren't we? In the morning, we get up, and Jesus affirms, I love you. You're my child. You have great value. And by the afternoon, where did all that go? Stress and anxiety of life has a way of filling our bucket and replacing what was in there. We are leaky buckets. And so Jesus says, I am the vine, you're the branches. Remain in my love. Continue under the spigot of my love so that your leaky bucket never runs dry. At the moment that you move your life away from me, it all leaks out. This is the reality of our lives. And that's why Jesus says, remain in me. Because if you do, I will continually fill up the bucket of your life, and you will have something to give. Right? And apart from that, it is impossible to live in agape love. Love simply becomes self-serving. We're always moving back into that space where love is self-serving. Love is about me getting what I need instead of agape love. Love is about giving up myself to meet your needs for who you are, for loving you. Remain in my love, Jesus says. This week, what does that look like for you? Or is there a change that needs to happen in your life? Because whether it's being too busy or just not having enough time or just not being intentional about it, you're not remaining every day in that place of Jesus' peace and love. Maybe part of it means that you have just assumed that this way of being is just situational. Like you're just waiting for other people to do the right things so that you can understand that. And it's a shift of mind that says, I can't wait for somebody else. I can't wait for my spouse. I'm not going to wait for my spouse to do the right thing so that I can feel comfortable and feel loved. I'm going to be intentional about going to Jesus, right? So that I can be filled by that. But what does that look like? Maybe it means in the morning that you're going to start a new routine. Maybe it means that you're going to get up instead of just zipping off to work, you're going to take 5 minutes, right? And place yourself in the presence of Jesus. Maybe at night before you go to bed. What does that look like for you this week? And the second question is this: who is God calling you to love that you wouldn't naturally choose to love? Because that's what big love is. I mean, small love, we know that it's easy. We naturally love those people who love us back, who like us, who are like us. But who is it that God is calling you to love in a big way? Who is it that is in your life right now that's kind of annoying? That you don't really like? That they don't really like you? And yet God is touching your heart and God is saying, hey, I want you to show them agape love because they've never known it from anybody else. And you're the one. Who is that grumpy neighbor that you can't stand, right? So I want you to choose a name. If it's not specific, you won't do it, right? I want you to choose a name. Right now, I want you to think of a name of somebody that's not that lovable in your life. And this week, I want you to pray, God, would you give me an opportunity to show them love that doesn't make sense? Big love, agape love, that's not for me. And I won't require them to return it. I won't require them to be nice. I won't require that to do anything. I'm just going to be obedient to you, Jesus, and I'm going to show that person agape love because it's who you are.